The movie begins with a news story stating that locals in Russia heard a loud noise at night and found a burning crater. Authorities believe that this 100 feet wide crater is not natural, but it has been formed due to the scientific experiment of some humans, and its depth is not yet known. It is said that some locals were also injured by this explosion. Just then, a boy named Evan comes running to the room and wakes up his friends Peter and Trish. He asks them to watch the news and says that all this happened because of their experiment. In the next scene, we see Peter, Evan, and a group of other college students doing some experiments in a college lab. Through this experiment, they wanted to teleport Peter's watch from one transponder to another transponder. Trish and Ward take the second transponder and come to a deserted place far away, and they were also in contact with Peter on a video call. Ward was feeling that all this might not be right as it is against the forces of nature, but Trish had full faith in her boyfriend, Peter. Both the transponders get connected as soon as Peter sends the signal. As both transponders get connected, the watch placed on the transponder of the lab disappears. Seeing this, they all become very happy, thinking that their experiment turned out successful. But instead of being connected to the watch, there's a strange sound, and the second transponder gets destroyed in the explosion. Due to this, their connection gets lost. When Peter goes to check on that place with the rest of his friends, they see that there was a crater formed, just like the one in Russia. All of a sudden, a hurricane appears at the crater, and everyone except Evan gets pulled into the crater. When the people that have been pulled in the crater come to their senses, they find themselves in ruins. They find it difficult to breathe as the temperature is too high and the oxygen level is too low in the ruins. They call out to Evan and try to contact him through a walkie-talkie, but all they hear is a strange noise. Just then, Peter sees Ava's tail, which was not there earlier, and he thinks that he is seeing things due to lack of oxygen. Then they feel a creature passing from below, and it suddenly appears in front of them. Fearing the creature, they all start running from there. On the other side, Evan goes back to the college and barges into Professor Morrow's class, their teleportation teacher. Evan tells him about their experiment. Hearing about the experiment, the professor dismisses the class and leaves with him. Inside the crater, the rest of the people reach in front of a big door, on top of which something was written in a language that they did not understand. Suddenly, many monsters come to attack them, and to escape from the monsters, they enter inside and close the door. Only then they find Peter's watch there, lying on the floor. Seeing the watch, they understand that their watch was teleported to this place. Peter says that they have opened a portal to another dimension, and Giles decodes the text written above the door, which means that they should leave all hope when they enter the door of hell. Slade says that he doesn't believe in the concept of heaven and hell. Lucia finds Trish's bracelet, some footsteps and blood on the floor, which means that Trish and Ward are also inside this dimension, and one of them might be injured. Suddenly, they hear some sound and they all run and hide. The one approaching is a collector who carries a cart to collect dead bodies from hell. As soon as he reaches their hideout, the collector smells something unusual and comes near their hideout to check. This makes them all very nervous. But then he picks up a dead body lying nearby and enters a huge door while closing the door behind him. After he leaves, they all come out and Peter then tells them that they have to find Trish and Ward. Then they find a way out. After going a little further, they see a trail of blood and Peter says that by following this trail, they can reach Trish and Ward. They also decide to find the transponder, since it is their last hope to get out of hell. Just then, Ava hears a dragon flying above them. They all start running towards a room to escape, but Slade doesn't run, arguing that this is all a dream. Just then, the monster attacks him and eats his head. Everyone else enters the door, but everyone reaches a different destination. Just then, Peter hears his father's voice, who is weeping while holding a photograph in front of a fireplace. When Peter walks toward him, he sees his very terrifying face. Peter runs from there and goes inside another door, which happens to be a church. On the other end, Ava reaches an old building where she hears the cries of a baby. On going forward, she hears music from a record player, and in the kitchen, there is a heart on the pan that is still beating. Seeing this, Ava starts to vomit, and then an old woman comes there who has a hole in the place of her heart. Seeing her, Ava runs away in fear, but encounters dead, lifelessly standing women in the corridor. After running out of the building, she falls and suddenly reaches a forest. In the next scene, we see Lucia, who is walking through a tunnel when the dead bodies of many workers start chasing her. Fearing the dead laborers, Lucia goes inside a door where she sees 2 dead bodies hanging. In front of her there are stairs too, and she starts walking down the stairs while shouting for help, but she keeps coming to the same floor again and again. After this, we see Giles walking through a forest when a man trapped in the bushes asks him for help. But Giles gets scared of him. Just then the collector comes there, and seeing the collector, Giles hides behind a wall where some vines grab him. On the other side, Evan and Professor Morrow reach that crater. The professor gets very angry at Evan on seeing the crater and tells him that his friends may have reached some other corner of the world through this portal, where they have opened a dimensional rift, through which all of them must have reached some other dimension. In hell, Peter hears Trish's voice from a room, and when he goes there to check, he finds Trish's camera, in which Ava's video is playing. There are dead bodies lying all around the room, seeing which Peter was also scared, and suddenly the door closes. In the forest, some dogs start chasing Ava, and while running she comes across a man who asks her for help. But Ava runs away from there, and those dogs attack the man and start eating him. On the other side, after the collector leaves, Giles sees Ward there. Giles calls him out, but he does not listen. Giles somehow frees himself from the vines and goes after Ward. Ward's condition was not looking good, and he told Giles to stay away from him. Giles still goes to him and asks him about the transponder, but Ward attacks him and knocks him unconscious, and we see that one arm of Ward has been transformed. On Lucia's side, Lucia sees a door through which she reaches the church where she sees Trish. As she moves forward, she runs to Trish and both of them hug each other. Trish tries to forcefully make out with her, but Lucia pushes her back. Trish starts crying apologetically. Lucia tries to console her, and suddenly Trish turns into a demon, and then puts her tongue in her mouth and takes out her soul. On Earth, Evan wants to call the police to try and get his friends out, but Professor Morrow stops him and says that he will try to rectify this mistake, but he needs Evan's help in this. He wants to reverse this experiment so that he can become famous for this new scientific discovery, but when Evan does not listen to him, he hits Evan and knocks him unconscious. In hell, Peter somehow comes out of the room where he sees Trish in front. Peter is overjoyed to see her. When the two hug each other, Trish tells him that when she came there, Lucia was lying dead there, and then suddenly she transforms into a monster and tries to attack Peter. But Peter attacks her and knocks her unconscious. Then, Peter starts hearing strange sounds, which causes him a lot of trouble, and suddenly Trish again appears in front of him, and many insects start coming out of her mouth. Seeing this, Peter runs away in fear. In the forest, Ava reaches a river where she finds a boat. Trish also comes there after her, and both of them are very happy to see each other. Ava asks her about Ward, to which Trish tells her that he ran away and hasn't seen him since. They then think of leaving through the boat, but then suddenly a creature appears there seeing, which both of them get very scared. He asks them for their souls as payment, and then starts blowing a horn. Suddenly Peter wakes up in class and sees that all his friends are in class with him. Then, he sees that Slade is sitting with his head down, and when they wake him up they get horrified to see his scary face. Next we see Giles, who is lying on a table with his hands and feet tied. Just then a creepy old nurse comes there and puts 3 leeches on his wound that get inside his stomach. After this, a huge leech emerges from a dead body, lying on the table next to him, which starts moving towards him. But then Peter comes there and kills that leech. Then he starts to untie Giles, but only then the nurse comes there and starts attacking Peter. But Giles kills the nurse and saves Peter. On Earth, Professor Morrow brings Evan to the lab and asks him to help him. Evan tells him that they linked the 2 transponders on the same frequency. Hearing this, the professor tries to make a connection with another transponder and learns that the portal will be open only for 3 more hours, and if they cannot return during this time, then they will be stuck there forever. In hell, when Trish and Ava regain consciousness, they find themselves tied with chains, and there are many dead bodies lying around them. Then they see a key there, and they think that it is the key to open these chains. Trish tries to pick it up, but her hand doesn't reach there, so she asks Ava to try. When Ava tries to reach the key, a blade swings there and cuts off her finger. Then, after some time, Peter and Giles reach them. Seeing that both of them are happy, Peter tells them that Lucia is dead and Giles uses the key to untie their chains. But then the collector comes there and tries to catch them. He throws the chain towards them, which traps Peter, but before the collector can kill him, Ava pulls the chain and releases the blade and kills the collector. On the other side, we see that the second transponder is with Ward and it is blinking. All the other people find Ward's shoe, and they feel that he will be somewhere nearby. Then Ward comes in front of them and asks them if they want this transponder. They notice that the transponder is blinking, which means that Evan is trying to contact them. But Ward does not give them the transponder and throws it into the fire. After that, he gets transformed and becomes a monster. Everyone gets scared after seeing this and starts running from there. But when there is no other way out, Peter kills Ward with the collector's weapon. With the destruction of the transponder, their last hope of getting out of there also seems to be over. Then they reach a room where Giles has trouble breathing, and he tells them about the leeches. Peter cuts his stomach with the help of a blade and pulls out the leeches, after which they seal his wound with the help of fire. Then suddenly a monster comes there. Fearing the monster, all of them run away from there. In the lab, the professor sees that the connection of the transponder has failed, so he decides to go to that crater and takes the transponder with him. In hell, Peter tells everyone that this place is playing with their minds and is showing them whatever they have read or heard about hell in their childhood. Just then, many dead bodies start moving towards them, in which there is also a body of Slade. They hide in a room to escape the dead bodies, where Peter asks them how the heroes survive in the famous hell movies. To this, Giles tells him about Sharon, also known as the ferryman of the underworld. That's when Trish and Ava tell them that they saw a man who was asking for payment from them. Hearing this, Giles says that his payment is a coin placed in the mouth of the dead to secure safe passage by Sharon across the river. Just then, the dead bodies start breaking into the room, and they all run away. From there, Peter takes them to a room where there are a lot of dead bodies, and they start looking for coins, and they also see Lucia's body. There then, Peter finds a coin in the mouth of a dead body, but as soon as he takes out the coin, the dead body comes alive and starts attacking him. But Trish saves Peter by killing the dead man. Just then, another collector comes there, and they all start acting like they are dead, but the collector finds out that they are alive and attacks Peter, but Trish again saves Peter. They start running towards the lift, but the collector catches Giles and starts eating him. Peter kills the collector, and then all of them start running away, and all the dead bodies come alive and start moving towards them. They enter a lift to escape from there. In the lift, Giles dies after giving them the coins since he is severely injured. After getting out of the lift, they reach a building, which is a theater, and there are some clips playing on the screen. Peter tries to break the screen, but it does not break and the weapon goes inside it. Seeing this, Peter understands that this is a portal through which they can go to the places seen in it. Then when the video of the forest comes, they enter the screen and reach the forest, where many dogs start chasing them. The dog catches Ava and starts eating her. On the other side, Professor Morrow is trying to make another hole inside that crater by doing an experiment, but he requires a lot of power to make it happen. He powers the transponder from the car's battery, and the portal opens. In hell, Trish and Peter reach the boat where Sharon asks for payment, but Peter does not have that coin in his pocket. Peter then gives him his watch, but Sharon says that he will take only one person for a coin, so Peter asks Trish to leave, and as soon as they board the boat, Peter attacks Sharon and kills him. After this, both of them start leaving there in the boat, and they see the portal made by the professor. But then a flying monster emerges from the water, where he beheaded Sharon, and follows after them and takes Peter away. Trish comes out of that portal alone. In the last scene, we see that Peter also somehow comes out of the portal in Omsk, Russia, while the forces are examining the crater. Just then, Trish calls on his phone and is overjoyed to find him alive.